I'm here to represent NCAT, which is a European network on culture management and policy. Actually, when I was thinking about being a bit creative during the presentation, there was one idea. I would start from back to the beginning, and now it seems quite a good idea to go to the last slide. But I will not do that. Please let me introduce you to some principles and activities of NCAT and the area in terms of keeping our environment sustainable. So there is growing awareness and desire among young people to engage in sustainable development issues, particularly environmental and climate issues. The result of a Eurobarometer released in May 22 indicated that young people in the EU consider protecting the environment and fighting climate change to be one of the key priorities Europe should focus on. The importance of education and research to advance the green transformation is an evidence in Europe and beyond. This is why in many countries, learning for sustainability has been taken up in policies, strategies, and curricula. The cultural and creative sectors are in a privileged position to advocate for the green transformation of our society due to its potential to facilitate change, to envision divergent futures, and especially enriching debates, both at the grassroots and the political spheres. Despite culture being a paramount part of the glue that sticks Europe together, we are still finding culture lying in a complex place within European policy making. Cultural legislation is still lacking articulation at the supranational level, and political documents do not reflect a legislative codification of culture itself. Therefore, our obligation is pushing towards the development of culture policy, and particularly through education in cultural management and policy. Education in cultural management in Europe arose from a number of practical concerns that derived from the growth of cultural organizations and the need to professionalize their work. Culture management implies mediation among diverse lines of study and work, meaning that it is a very fast-changing and dynamic environment. This makes cultural management education a discipline that teaches innovative ways to deal with challenging situations, just like the global environment crisis. The growth of cultural research is also a result of the new policy discourses addressing the cultural and creative sectors. There has been a shift in political agendas where the creative sectors are not only an industry that fosters economic growth anymore. Current policy underlines that the creative economy promotes, at the same time, social prosperity globally, contributing to sustainable and inclusive growth and social cohesion. At the supranational levels of the EU and UN, we can also find a remarkable increase of arguments that support the potential of cultural entrepreneurship, although research concludes that entrepreneurial skills in the sector are lacking. This entrepreneurial trend and its gaps has undeniable challenging implications for cultural management and cultural policy education, but it can also become an opportunity for the sector to start educating the future experts and providing them with skills for a greener framework. In fact, despite the role of culture was not yet recognized in sustainability policies in the beginning of this millennia, culture was later argued to be the fourth pillar of sustainable development, which entailed a remarkable shift in the framing of culture policy discourses. This implied a revision of culture management and hence the revision of the knowledge, skill sets and capacity building provided to future professionals. What NCAT does in relation to this topic is that NCAT works at the intersection of culture education, practice and research, and it aims to equip culture managers, creators, educators and researchers with skills and competencies to face current and future global challenges. To further introduce the environmental aspect and green impact into cultural management and cultural policy curricula is a top priority of NCAT's strategic and work plan for the next years. This is introduced as a cross-cutting issue to everything we do, but we also designed some specific activities to ensure our own transformation as well as our contribution to and the strengthening of our members in their capacities in relation to the green transition of the culture and creative sectors. In particular, the commitment of NCAT to be an environmentally responsible organization is achieved by acting as a responsible organization, increasing awareness of a specific issue within the cultural management policy community, increasing cultural management and policy professionals' overall knowledge, competence, and skills, and advising and supporting research-based policymaking and actions. At the level of the organization, since 2011, the NCAT internal rules includes a chapter with a clear green policy for the management of the organization, for the communication and dissemination strategy, for the implementation of NCAT activities. In the next 3 years, NCAT wishes to reduce 25% of its footprint. To this end, NCAT has started to implement the guidelines for a European project developed by the EU-funded project named SHIFT. To raise awareness about the need to make the cultural sector greener, in March 2018, NCAT has started a new strategic cooperation with Julie's Bicycle. Thanks to this cooperation, NCAT launched a series called the Creative Climate Movement. To continue its journey towards a more sustainable world, in February 21, NCAT joined the Climate Heritage Network, a voluntary mutual support network of arts, culture, and heritage. In addition to the consolidation of the past engagements, some new activities have been designed, among which the following two can be highlighted. The first is the NCAT Academy. The 22 edition of the Academy addressed the climate change as a cross-cutting issue in the context of external relations and the digital shift. A second, Go Green section of the NCAT magazine. The NCAT magazine is a new digital publication with its inaugural issue launched in June 2020, and it is meant to educate, entertain, raise awareness, and inform on various topics related to culture management and policy. A section is included that explores different topics connected to culture management and culture policy, to the green transition, such as the issue of climate justice or the selling of green futures. And of course, we will continue to organize more events on the topic. For instance, the 2024 conference or Congress of NCAT will be devoted to the topic, so it will be quite interesting to see how quick and how far we moved from this point on this matter. So I have a theater background, so there are few remarks on theater as a case study. The theater professionals are storytellers, and they hold the unique capacity to explore, to reflect, and dialogue about key questions with a broader public. Theater, therefore, is in a privileged position to take the leadership in advocating for environmental action through the message they send and through the actions they take. Especially bearing in mind that theater quite often takes place in an educational context, we need to remember that every change that is made may potentially impact the whole community. But it's not only about producing sustainable work in a sustainable way, but also to guarantee that future theater practitioners are aware of its importance and have the skills and education needed. Only through education we will ensure a future development of more sustainable industry practices. A challenge is defining how to be more sustainable without affecting the creative process, of course. At a theater production, sustainability must be considered from the outset rather than as an add-on, particularly at the production, from designing the budget, engaging partners, imagining the aesthetics to designing the sets. However, sustainability cannot be in mind only at the physical phases, but environmental impact must be minimized at every phase of the making process. There is a reference work when it comes to education in sustainable theater and eco-scenography, which is the Theater Green Book. It sets a common standard for making theater sustainably, and so should be mentioned. This book breaks the production process into 3 stages, but I will leave you to read the book, and we'll skip this to next slide, which really doesn't have to do with anything. It's just a company which is my new employer, and which is quite a nice example of collaboration of cultural organization or culture groups, and also the creative industries, because it has been started by a theater group called Vostopět, Baroque orchestra called Collegium 174, and cinema called Pilotu, and also host Breilando, which is quite an interesting creative company taking theater into a VR world. So finally, while you look up the program of ZLED and book your tickets, let me please have some final remarks. Although there are different positive effects of culture and arts, also mentioned in my presentation and previously, there should be kept stressing that it is not the economical, social, or health care or other benefits that are important, but the immanent value of arts and culture should be put in the first place. It is a resource of creativity, as it is just their fundament, and it should be taken mainly as an equivalent for a basic, not applied research for the creative industries. The arts are the core of creativity concepts, although they're often not really in the center of attention of most people, which is no wonder amidst the economic, energetic, and safety issues we face in Europe and worldwide. Still, we need to repeat that arts and culture can unite nations and help them overcome most obstacles and come to the understanding of each other. So thank you, and at the end I want to thank to the organizer for the conference, and thanks for the opportunity to speak.